Hi, I'm Suzanne, and I am the founder of Internet Child Protection Nationwide. I live in a rural area of Wisconsin. Um, this internet issue has been a huge thorn in our heel for several years now, and it came to a head last year. But I'll talk a little bit what leads up to it, and then what I've come to find out since I've started the page. Um, the first incident happened to my oldest child, my son, who was using Club Penguin. Nothing sounded horrible about that, but it couldn't have been further from the truth. There are people on there trying to lure children away from that site to other sites, looking for personal information, looking for um, uh, uh, kind of flirting with the children. So I said kibosh to that for my son, who was 15 at the time. And I had been kind of a newbie to Facebook, but still, I thought I knew it all. So I let my son have a Facebook page. And he'd had it for a little while, and then he met a girl on there. I was one of those parents that said, "Oh, I'm gonna know all my son's passwords, and I'm gonna know all of his friends, and he's gonna be safe, and he's not gonna do this, and he's not gonna do that." And I truly believed that that would make my son safe, and I've learned a lot since then. He was catfished. Um, he fell in love head over heels. I'd never seen him so giddy and goofy. My son is a at risk special needs student. Um, it's really hard for him to get excited about stuff. He was kind of an outsider of sorts, and he found this beautiful girl online, and she wanted to chat all the time, and he was so excited, and all his friends were like, "Oh my gosh, that's your dating?" And he's like all proud, and yeah, that's who I'm dating. Came the day that he was going to meet the girl at a local fast food restaurant. It was a fast food restaurant that I really trusted. It's run by a man that nothing gets by him, and everybody knows everybody in that restaurant. So I thought I was pretty okay with everything. Um, he, he showed up and found it only to be that there the girl that he had been talking to was several of the neighborhood boys catfishing him. And with the sexual talk or whatever that this budding young couple had, they were taking screenshots and printing it out and used this stuff to bully him for months on end. Taking the garbage out one day after I had confronted one of the parents, one of the young men who was into boxing and another young man that was into wrestling um, cornered cornered my son or bullcucked him or whatever, and he was beat pretty bad, and I was told not to do anything about it because nothing could be done. It was only going to make it worse. Nothing was normal in our lives after that summer. It got very bad with my son, and my daughter and my then husband and we ended up moving to a rural area shortly after that. Because we were no longer in the city where all of her friends were. We lived in a neighborhood that had tons of kids, so our child was never, the youngest was never home. She was always at somebody's house or somewhere in between. Um, she wanted to be able to talk to her friends from her old neighborhood, talk to her dad, who's a long over the road trucker who she only gets to see every couple months. She wanted to be able to play her fish bill, talk to her sister Sammy in Pennsylvania. Hey, Sammy. She enjoyed that and played that every once in a while, but I was getting tired of it monopolizing all the computer time. I was doing classes at the time, so for Christmas that year, she got a tablet. Dun 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 dun. First couple weeks were great. It got a little annoying. Mom, see this video. Mom, see this video. Mom, I want to sing this song to you. It was constant because she was so bored. You could only, she's like, wants to show me the videos I've already seen, the hamster and the cat with the piano and whatnot. We'd all seen those a million times. So she started playing her music videos. She likes to sing and dance, so she started to do that more in her room, to the point where we hardly saw her. And then one day I went to go to the bathroom in the middle of the night and noticed she was still up with her tablet. So the next day, you look at the history and you find out what's been happening. Several hundred of images of pornographic nature on the tablet, and so she didn't have her tablet for several months after that. I took it away. I made the mistake of setting it back to factory settings. I just wanted that all off. I wanted it out of. I didn't want to even imagine my little baby looking at that stuff. I should have just taken the tablet to the police department so they could have found the people that were sending that stuff. That was a huge mistake. Even though she was not allowed to have her tablet, she still managed to find her tablet every time and get back on it. I've even smashed it, and she found it, and she took it to school once, and it was a big to do. So it was pretty bad. Those people were introducing my child to the sites like Pornhub and whatnot, and a little bit later, okay, a second, I gotta, okay, another issue we ran into that help other parents is the internet outside of homes. In our home, we have a co-parenting situation. Her father and I aren't together. The internet rules in my house should be the internet rules at Dad's house. And it's not me trying to tell him how to parent. It's about consistency and our child's safety. And if a parent has, it took a long time to get to this point. It came to the point where we wrote down exactly what the rules were, and all three of us signed it. And that way, if any one of us broke a rule, then we had to revisit the situation about visitation and stuff. I find the both parents' position in the child's life extremely important and valuable. And so I was kind of brokenhearted when the rules were lost. So we're slowly gaining trust, and slowly she's getting back with her daddy more, and what yada yada yada. Most of the people in our area know that my daughter is not allowed to have a phone. It's taken a couple of years to get this way, but I was always getting calls like, oh, she was using so-and-so's phone, and she was using so-and-so's phone, and even a phone mysteriously, or not mysteriously, a tablet went mysteriously missing from Dad's house. an old cell phone from grandma, an old cell phone from here. Any device that has once had Wi-Fi or internet can be used for Wi-Fi again. So even if you're saying my child has phone but they don't have data, your joke, the joke's on you because your child just needs to hook up to Wi-Fi. At a doctor's office last week, my iPhone dinged that I had 38 free Wi-Fi access places within a mile of where I was. And I was like, well, that's good to know. I mean, I was just thinking of any child with an iPod, oh, I can go over here now and do whatever I'm not supposed to be doing on the internet. Luckily, in the small town, the teachers know, the police officers I've worked with know, even the library knows. It's in the thing with our card that only myself and my husband can use the internet while on this card, unless one of us are with her. I mean, I realize that not everybody has that luxury, but I can't. There's another situation where if your child babysits, those parents probably have a computer. Perhaps you ask them to shut it off so your child, and the children can sit and watch a movie, or the concentration can be on those children having fun and not what's on the internet, because teens get distracted with the internet anytime it's near. Anytime my child meets a new friend, I'm very open with the parents. I say I have a serious internet issue with my daughter, and I need to know that she's not going to have access. And I usually get an okay, yeah, I understand your child's safety. That's important. Yeah. There's been times where that's not followed through, and I don't get mad at the parents per se, as especially younger parents that haven't been dealing with this issue with teenagers that long. But it's important to try, and that's another one of those things where they still get access to the internet. It's everywhere with game consoles and toys and let's see, let me move down here on my list of things I wanted to touch on. Our Wi-Fi there's something you can do to your Wi-Fi to make sure that your child isn't getting on your Wi-Fi. It's called Access Control List, and that means that it takes more than just your password to get on. You have to have your actual IP address into this list in order to access that internet. So there's no resetting of the button in the back, so you can resync your devices or whatever. That's important, and it's something to look into to make sure that if you're starting to have these issues, that's something that is an option for your family. I remember when I first was dealing with these issues with my daughter having issues. My son had been long past issues, and now I was just dealing with the younger one. I had talked to a mom who had said she had to move across state because her child had made the mistake of, boy, it's like, just flash, give me one breast or whatever, and she did it. In those things, they say just 1 second. Well, you don't know what somebody on the other side of the computer is doing, and sometimes they're screenshotting. So the next day she turns up to school, and there's a couple dozen copies of that picture all over the school. And at the time, I believe she said her daughter was now 23 and she was going into real estate. But she couldn't shake the thought that somewhere out there is that image of her with her name. Her name was on there because it was a chat, you know? Her name was on the picture, and it's going to be online forever. And it's one reason why we need to prevent this from happening, making sure children realize that it's out there forever. Once it's digital and it's passed on, downloaded, there's no guarantee it's ever gone. So, working with national missing and exploited children sometimes can help with making sure that those images sharing is controlled. Once kids get the attention and the stimulation from social media, they start craving it, needing it. In some professional circles, they call it digital heroin. It's recognized as a diagnosis now as an addiction. As parents, we need to arm ourselves with as much education of what is happening to our teens. We have way too many teens on this page that are missing. They're dead, or they have committed suicide. And there's a large set of victims that nobody really talks about, but it's important to. You'll hear one day that a child is missing, and then maybe a month and a half later you find out that they're found, and you think, oh my gosh, that is amazing, that girl is found. And it is, and it's wonderful, and it brings a tear to your eye. But also know that it's not over for that child, because once a child comes home, these young people have addictions and physical wounds and PTSD, and sometimes even a pregnancy to deal with. Emotional wounds will never heal, and if they're not dealt with properly, and somewhat immediately, it'll affect their whole life to the point where it can handicap their children. I speak from experiences. I was 16 when I left home, and I got married when I was 16 to a man who was 22 years old. The experience ended up with me being 18 years old with a newborn baby, living in a domestic abuse shelter in Oil City, Pennsylvania. This was 1995, and I was recovering from a gunshot wound. I often think of the trauma a mom feels carries on to their child, and therefore making it a necessity to find the coping skills. Unfortunately, I didn't try to start looking for the coping skills until maybe 5 years ago. So, and that's a guilt will never shake. And if you can prevent your kids from ever having this guilt, you're doing good. I'm no expert. I'm just like many of our followers, the parents and the caregivers who are fed up. Oh no, I lost my spot again. I know. Okay, there I am. Nobody is making sure the parents are exercised. You may have a password to the account, but that doesn't work. Statistically speaking, your child has multiple profiles on multiple sites. They'll have the PG ones, and then the ones that mom and dad can't see. They're going to be more provocative. They may speak in a language that parents don't approve in. It's not as easy as you think it is to keep the digital media away from your child. And it's important to learn everything you can to keep your child safe from any of this. Let's see, I have a lot of notes. Okay, so What happens typically is when an internet predator finds someone the age of, of the age that they like or they prefer, or someone that seems like they might be an easy target. This often means that it's a child who posts that they're ugly, or they'll say they're lonely, or even posts where that child is getting bullied. This person will come up and stick up for them. This person will be like their knight in shining armor. And they'll start messaging things like, I'll always be there for you, and I'll love you forever, and all these things. Then start talking sexually and exposing them to sexual ideologies and whatever. That's called grooming. And they will show you videos and sites and start asking for pictures, and hopefully parents notice before it goes any further. What happens typically is the internet. No, sorry, sorry, I almost doubled myself there. The next one down is okay. But if a parent misses the noticing that their child is being groomed for this sort of thing, it does not make them a bad parent. It just means that they haven't had to learn it yet, and unfortunately, a lot of us learn it too late. Their child, if that child runs away, there is no such thing as a child that is just a runaway. A man luring a young girl from her home with the promise of love and affection or freedom from their parents, it is no different than a man at a park asking a little child if they want candy and then stealing them. It is the exact same thing until you know different. Yes, there are teens that can be bratty and they just want to get out of town. But many times they are people being victimized. And you are further victimizing them when you are commenting on their posts saying things like, oh, I think I saw her on Backpage, or oh, she's probably out getting pregnant, or check the back seat, or something like that. Further victimizing them makes you look more ignorant and does not help anything. When you see a news story like that, if you have nothing positive or hopeful to say to those parents that may be reading that article, don't say anything, please, because it's victimizing the parent even more. And this parent is going through the worst times of their lives. I talking to parents that are going through this, and it's heartbreaking. I can't even tell you. Okay, so I've already talked about most of this, I believe. Okay. Here we go. Kik and Snapchat are currently two of some of the worst apps. The Kik app has actually been the catalyst for a murder. Her story never will leave my heart because it sounded so much like my child. Somebody lured out of her bedroom. She had her minion's blanket. My daughter's blanket's right here. Then my daughter would have took her in her blanket too. It could have easily been anybody's child. There are other sites. Musically is one that's starting to become more popular. There's one that's called Calculator, and it's got a percent sign. It's kind of disguised as a calculator, but it's not actually a calculator. They're doing a lot of that now, where the icon on the screen is something other than what it is. And I'm going to look into trying to find some sort of image or make some sort of image to help you find those types. But it's a lot of looking into that I got to do yet. In 2016, it was estimated that there was over 900 sites in the world. It's not hard to realize that it can, with the ease of the technology, that it doubles. It's not beyond what could happen. Please remind your child that nothing sent online is ever gone indefinitely. If your child gets secretive or overreacts when their phone is getting taken away, there's probably a reason to worry, and you need to research. And your child is going to be a monster and kick and fight and swear and whatever. But we need to go back to the era where it's okay for our kids to be mad at us. I'm the first one to admit that I hate it when my kids are mad at me. I want my children to respect me, not fear me. And I think a lot of times that has come to my detriment. Again, if your child has sent messages or pictures of themselves, do not forward them. Never forward them. Let's see. Okay. As embarrassing as it is, it may be that your child's image is being used for child pornographic groups. There are people out there that trade these pictures like they are trading cards, and they're going to be out there possibly forever. So you can't knock that fact down home enough. I had no idea how dangerous this was until a friend of my youngest came forward with screenshots of what was happening. My child was being blackmailed, and by someone just a few years older than her in Oklahoma. I did not handle this very well. I should have gone to my local police department, but it was like probably would have been the 5th time I had done so, and it was getting to the point that they were like at their wits' end just as much as I was. And I needed an outlet. I needed something to help me cope with this. And my husband suggested this page. And it was a year ago in January, so here I am. When I first started this page, I thought it was a small outlet for our local area, and now it has grown to 14 countries and over 2,000 likes. And that's really exciting. I've worked with just a handful of families, trying to chase down who their children are talking to, or informing people about new apps or tricks that kids are using. There's been some search parties that have needed some tips, and I've helped them with. I've tried to help the best I can. All I've known is what I've seen. So with Aaliyah's search party, we learned that there can be people with bad intentions. So when TJ went missing, I tried to tell those people, make sure you be careful what the parents can see. That was the kind of thing I wanted to make sure that they learned. But most everything I have learned has been in service to my children or yours. I am, again, no expert. Not every child is in danger of these things. Not every child gets caught up in this is ignorant or smart. Not every parent that is has a child that becomes a victim is neglectful or unconcerned. The persons that are trying to lure our children out of our homes are sneakier than us, usually. As for our kids, you know your child. You know your child's level of maturity as to their age. Ask advice for your child's teachers and your pediatricians and your police officials, your school counselors. Their input would be invaluable. They have your trust until they abuse it. Never give up on your kids because they are our future. Um, there's always time. There's always time to turn everything around. Society makes it harder with even toys with Wi-Fi. But as I started this page, I hope we can all share what we know and what the latest trends are in our areas. Trends are spreading faster in media. Let's help each other. I've recently added people from different countries. They're having the same problems we are. Australia, Ireland. It's heartbreaking, some of the stories that I've been reading. Hopefully they'll have some good input too. And I want to thank everybody who played this crazy lady's way too long video. I have kind of made it a part-time job to scream out there to anybody that'll listen how we can keep our kids safe. The only question that was asked for me to reply to was, is there a software or anything that I would suggest or have learned to be better than any other? And my first answer would say a lot of my very favorite people in the world are autistic. And if you have an autistic child, Angel Sense is a very good idea, as well as those little geotags. Get a couple of them. Shoes, the little ring on the back of the shoe, or a backpack. Better to have them. Even if your child loses that piece of item of clothing or whatever, knowing where they were 10 minutes ago is better than not knowing anything at all. Especially if they're a runner. As far as phone monitoring or computer monitoring software, I would say Web Watcher sounds like it's a really good one. I've heard from, I think, 2 parents that used Web Watcher, and I looked at it again the other day in preparation for this. There's a 1-week free trial if you want to try that. But I will bring up again that a lot of kids have 2 phones. One's the parents know about, and one that's like a dummy phone that somebody threw away or somebody tossed aside that they use just for Wi-Fi, and you're not going to have the information you need if they're using another phone that you don't know about. So it's really hard to tell. And please don't think that you would know, because I would have never guessed at 11 years old. My little princess would have been doing some of these things. I have a few thank yous. A lot of what I share is from other pages, other sources, and I can get some answers, and I lean on a few people. I have leaned on Dawn from Justice for Children Without Voices a few times. Worked on some police situations. She's awesome. Love her. Macaroni Kids newsletters, they let me put a spotlight on a couple different pages. Every community has a Macaroni Kids in their area. Google it, Macaroni Kids New York or whatever, I don't know. They're mainly for younger kids, it seems, but they give you a lot of networking ideas. The more you know your community, the safer your child can be. So I think it's important. Now I have to say hello to Child Safe Uganda. They have been our number one fan for a very long time. I don't know how you found us, but you're there for every post I have posted since, I think, week 2. So, hello, Child Safe Uganda. Um, Stop It Now, Missing Pieces Network, Dream Catchers of Abused Children. I love your posts. I find them invaluable and for myself and my children and everybody's children, actually. Dads of Wisconsin. I found some wonderful things with them. I'm sure there's a dads of every state, and there's a missing children of every state. I know there is a CFSI of missing children. Um, I use their posts a lot. Southern postings for the missing. I use their posts. The Bully Project, the Center for Missing and Exploited Children. I'm on the Polyclass Rapid Response Team, so I get those posts quite often. And there was one other that now I can't. Oh, the truckers. Truck drivers have an awesome ability to be able to spot sex trafficking victims. They also have a very good chance to find our missing children. So I'm hoping we can support some of their pages as well. Um, Thank you, everybody, for sitting and listening to me, and I hope I made some sense because I don't think I usually do. Good night.